Welcome to the Subaru Levorg. What do you get with your $57,990 Levorg? For 2018, the Levorg enjoys some useful enhancements. New 18-inch alloy wheel design, new headlights which are now responsive to the steering angle, daytime running lamps, a new grille, new front bumper. Yeah, so some tickle-ups all round really. The rear seat now also splits in 3 separate sections, so you've got a 40, 20, 40 split, the middle bit being the 20, so if you need to carry 4 people on board, you can still have 2 outboard people on the back seat and have a long load carried through the middle. So that's a really useful enhancement over previous Levorgs. Yeah, it's pretty well spec'd, you know. You've got nice perforated leather upholstery with this really cool blue contrast stitching. Got an electric sunroof, tilt slide sunroof. Electric seat on the driver's side, that's 10-way power adjustable with memory, so 2 driver position memories on the seat. And the car is a pretty comfortable place to be. There's a total of 4 cameras on board here. We've got a traditional reversing camera. There's also another camera underneath the passenger's door mirror which looks forward at your front wheel, so you can see how close you're getting to a curb when you're doing a park. There's also another camera on the grille underneath the Subaru badge, which is called the front view monitor. And the 4th camera is actually on the top of the tailgate inside the back window. And where does that go, you say? Well, it goes into the mirror here. You know how usually you get 3 people sitting across the back of a sedan or a wagon like this? When you tend to look in the rear vision mirror, all you see is the person in the middle of that back seat looking back at you. Yeah, it's a little bit distracting. So what Subaru have done, it's very clever, they put a camera behind that person on the back window, and when you switch the mirror like so, it turns into a little video screen. Yeah, clever thinking, I like that. The car has active torque vectoring and electric handbrake, and new again for this year is this thing called the AVH, which is the auto vehicle hold, which means switching it on, when I pull up at the lights here, if I hold my foot on the brake for about 3 seconds, once the car is stopped, take my foot off the brake and the car will stay here. Now that works whether I'm facing uphill, downhill or on the flat, and the car won't move until I put my foot on the accelerator. Problem with that is that it doesn't have a memory for that function, so when you hop out of the car, lock it, jump back in, start it up again, you've got to switch that back in again. And I wish that some of these settings that the car asks you to make would be retained so that you don't have to remake them again and again and again. You do get the same motor as the WRX. You get the 197 kilowatt, 350 newton meter, 2 litre direct injection turbo. Flat 4-cylinder, of course, boxer engine. And you get a Cvt transmission, the rubber gearbox. So we've got a constantly variable transmission that has selectable ratios available to it through the SI drive. In I and S modes you've got 6 ratios, and in the Sports Sharp you've got 8 ratios. A lot of people driving it would think it's just a traditional automatic. They wouldn't be aware that it's constantly variable, and that's really what you want, because if you're aware that it's constantly variable, chances are you're aware of that because you're hearing a lot of rev flaring. I have noticed in Sport Sharp mode there's a little bit of a double take through the gear changes, which is a little not so much disconcerting, but it's not as slick as you would like. And I think this engine, putting out near enough 200 kilowatts, really would benefit from a better transmission. Subarus are often seen as a logical kind of car because they've got flat 4-cylinder engines, which means there's got a low centre of gravity. They've got permanent all-wheel drive, which gives you that reassurance of traction and good road holding. And they've got modest body dimensions, and they seem to be, you know, oriented towards the driver who really wants to get amongst the twisties. You can take corners at really good speed because you've got the surety of that symmetrical all-wheel drive system, so you know that all the wheels are doing all they can to keep you stuck on the road. The car turns very naturally. It's not a particularly tightly sprung car. It's got quite a bit of softness to the suspension, but it's not a roly-poly car either. That low centre of gravity gifted to it by the Boxer engine keeps you from having too much body roll, so the suspension can be quite soft and absorb bumps well without you sort of being thrown around in the cabin. It's a little bit looser, a little bit softer, a little bit more squidgy than a WRX would be, which I guess you can understand because with its station wagon body, it's encouraging you to carry more people in gear than a sedan body WRX would. This model year 18 has new brake pads, Durit I think they're called, brake pads, and they're supposed to be 20% more efficient, but to my mind the brakes could do with a bit more bite to them. I'm having to use a bit more pedal pressure than I feel would be ideal, particularly for a car that accelerates and can cruise at such high speeds as this thing can. I'd rather have the brakes being a little bit more on my side. A lot of buttons in here, a lot of buttons on the steering wheel. I think there's about 14 or 15 buttons here, and a few of them are redundant, frankly. I mean, for SI drive, for instance, they've given you 2 buttons to get a total of 3 different modes. So one button takes you between I and S, another button takes you between I and S sharp. Why couldn't we just have one button that has 3 steps through it from I to S sharp? So even though the steering wheel's got a few buttons, I think it could do with a bit more. So there we go. I've got some more buttons. That's what I'm talking about. Subaru really have got their act together in terms of the safety in these cars. This eyesight technology is really good. I actually witnessed a nose-to-tail crash on my way through the filming today, and I was just thinking, well, look, any technology that can help avoid things like that has got to be congratulated. So these 2 stereoscopic cameras are now able to detect colour, for instance, so they can spot brake lights and give the driver just that extra warning that something up ahead is stopping. And the fact that it'll reduce throttle and it'll actually brake for you is really reassuring in those situations where your own abilities might be a bit marginal, or you might be distracted and no one wants to go into the back of anybody else. So thanks Subaru for giving us eyesight technology, really good. You know, there's something about Subarus, I don't know quite what it is. Maybe it's the Boxer engine, although because you can't really hear that anymore, I'm not sure that's entirely it. But there's definitely something about Subarus that I find very appealing, and I think I'd be prepared to stomach some of these little minor quirks and idiosyncrasies, because a Subaru is somehow, I don't know, it's just got a bit more character than a lot of Japanese cars do have, and I'm all for character in a car. And a car that has character and still delivers sparkling performance like this thing does is a car worth checking out. So if you're missing the Legacy GT, or if you can't quite get everything you need into the back of a WRX with its current sedan only body style, then check out the Levorg, because it's probably going to deliver pretty much everything you're looking for in a car.